Actually, can we just have that timer? Yeah. And do you guys want a roadmap?
That would be awesome.
And I guess.
You're not doing this 7, 8, 8, 8, 4, 5? Okay.
Okay. The roadmap is going to be like the T, the interps, the definitions. And then roadmap is going to be T, public. And then your contention 1, and then your contention 3, and then contention 2 will be addressed in our other contention, and then I'll be getting to other contentions, and I have 3 others. So total you're going to need 5 contentions, and then the framework. Okay? Everyone. Oh, just a quick question: does the resolution say World War III?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Right off the bat, the affirmative team, the government team loses the round because World War III already happened, and the resolution isn't even legitimate because under their definition of World War, we've already had about tons of World War. Right off the top of my head, Cold War was a World War III or World War II, wherever you put it. The Revolution was World War .5, I guess, or something. Major powers. Okay, that was a terrible definition. That was basically saying war. So that's gonna be my first point under topicality, is that their definition there was terrible. 2 or more major powers going to war. My first response was the Cold War and other wars. Tons of other wars fit under that, so they lose the round automatically there. My second response is the resolution could have just said war, which is what they're defining it as. And my third response is, again, a different example is the revolution. Impacts here, they lose the round. To topicality is a priori. Before you even consider their case or anything in the round, I asked you to consider whether or not that was a topical definition. It absolutely was not, and it puts us in a box. And it means that the resolution could never be true because it means the resolution is illegitimate because World War III has already happened under their definition. So right off the bat, they lose the round. Moving on to the other definition, I just want to talk about really quick. We kind of agree with their definition of imminent. They said it means like it's about to happen. Well, the only thing we add to this is if it's about to happen, it has to be possible. And we say that's a clear way to understand. So our definition of that, the reason I prefer is it's a clear way to understand that it has to be possible. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, moving on to their first contention. There's a lot of interesting stuff under here. Okay, first of all, they talk about cybersecurity. I have 2 responses to this. Attribution. You cannot attribute those cyber attacks to the Estonia, or to Russia. They attributed them wrongly, and it was just a random terrorist organization. Second response is U.S. even in the investigation said that they cleared Russia's name. Moving on, they said something really interesting that killed their case, or at least didn't promote it. They talked about Iran, North Korea, and he said once we break out into war, it'll be bad because they have dangerous, cybersecurity powers. He said specifically once we're in war. That point had nothing to do with whether or not it's imminent that we will go to war. I don't care how bad it's going to be once we go. We're talking about whether or not we will go at all. So it really doesn't affect their case, and that point just is completely mute. Okay, moving on. They said terrorists want to steal nuclear weapons. I turn this. They wanted to steal nuclear weapons for a long, long time, and because of that, we've developed tons and tons and tons of anti-measures against that. CTR, the NPT, the IAEA, MANPC, and every other acronym under the sun, basically, not at the end of this point. So we've developed things against that, and secondly, turn real life. Their point that terrorists have wanted to, it's not some new thing, it's not an imminent threat because it's not new, because it's already been there and it hasn't happened. Terrorists cannot obtain them because if they would, we know that they would have nuked us. And they haven't, and they can't because we only keep increasing measures. Terrorists aren't going to school or becoming smarter or anything like that, only we're becoming smarter. What's your point?
Alright, terrorist groups, ideologically extreme groups are gaining power in the Middle East.
That's a really broad question. You can argue that in your speech. I'm not going to answer that right now. Okay, moving on. Contention 3, I said that's what I'm going to address next. Okay, they basically talk about a crisis in the Middle East. This was really a terribly constructed argument. He's basically just talking about crisis in the Middle East. It, does not fit the correct definition of World War III. If there's a war in the Middle East, we're having a war in the Middle East right now. There's plenty of wars in the Middle East going on right now between us and Afghanistan, or us and Iraq, and different Middle Eastern countries have disputes. So, under their own definition, they lose the round, and this point absolutely doesn't apply. Okay, so they go to war. That's not World War. We're supposed to be talking about World War. They did not give you that to talk about. And second of all, again, that's not unique. It's already happening. There's no imminent danger. They gave you no, like, oh, this is what it's on the edge of. They gave you this is what's happening now, and it didn't really relate to the case. They then moving on, their other terrible logic here is that they said sheer number of possibilities. Well, you know, we're all smart people and debaters. There's a sheer number of possibilities. I'll just start yelling at one of you guys. Oh, I kind of am actually right now about arguments, and we're just going to go. You can't just say like simple math equation. You have some autonomous country, so it means we're going to go to World War. Well, yeah, it means we'll go to war, but again, we're talking about World War. That didn't prove the point, and there was really terrible analysis there. Okay, moving on to contention 1, which disproves contention 2. Our contention 1 is mad theory, essentially. Mad theory is what's kept us from World War III, and what will continue to keep us from World War III. The origins, as you all know, is the Cold War, or World War III under their definition. Essentially, basically, all the major powers right now all have the and I'm actually running out of time, so this is the only way I'm going to prove this point. Peter can go in further in depth in it. All the major powers have the capabilities to not only defend, but also strike back at every other major power with biological weapons, with cyber weapons, and with nuclear weapons. All major powers that could be starting those wars all have the capability to strike back, so you can cross-apply mad theory and what we've seen in real life and see that there's really nothing to worry about and nothing's imminent because it's been around. They have shown you nothing on the edge, nothing changed. Really, an overall point you can see, an overall theme, is real life is on our side. And when you have two claims contesting each other in a debate round, when you have two theories going at each other, you have to go to real life. When you have the theory of Spider-Man pajamas flight in a back porch, you gotta test it. And in real life, we test it, they're wrong. They give you all these examples and terrorists have won it for a long time. It proves our point. Moving on to contention about technology. Actually, no, this is our final, maybe our final contention. Our contention 2 is basically some conflict areas that we're going to dispute. First of all, Kashmir. Let's talk about Kashmir. There's a territorial dispute. Well, it's been going on for 50 years, and yes, there's been some wars. Key point, no world wars, so we can expect that the future ones won't be world wars, because there's already been some. Moving on to Taiwan. As a foreign policy expert said the other day, at Vector, basically, there's no way this is going to happen, because we won't back China against Taiwan, and we won't really back Taiwan either. That's not going to happen. Moving on, Georgia. Georgia can't really affect a world war because they didn't get in NATO, so NATO countries don't have an obligation to fight Russia back, so Georgia's already happening. It's a regional conflict, and there's no world war. Moving on, North Korea, cross-apply mad theory, and the fact that they are rational, because if they were irrational actors, they would just do everything in their power right now to kill us. They do have weapons, they do have a military, they're not doing that. They're rationally waiting for nukes. But even when they get the nukes, we have technological defenses, as I've said, and mad theory applies. They will be nuked. They will get themselves nuked back. So that is my final contention. Actually, Peter might expand on it a little more. Is contention 3, which is technology. That for every offensive technology we've been developing, we have to develop a defensive technology. Therefore, World War III or World War 73 is not imminent.